When I first started the Transcendence experience, we were all assigned a tarot card, and the card I was assigned was Death. And a lot of people think with the Death card that's just bad, something bad's going to happen, but that's actually not the case. It's more of a transformation, going from one stage of life to another, and that's really what I wanted to capture with my experience, and that's why I laid it out the way I did. So the experience starts out with the player in a kind of empty, desolate environment. It's all black and white, and there's really only mountains, some building ruins, and a couple dead trees in the whole thing. Right away in the beginning, the player sees a big mountain with a structure on top, as well as a way to get up to that structure. So that's the first point of interest that I wanted the player to notice. As you go up to that point of interest, the player climbs up these stairs, and they're able to see more of the environment, some just more aspects such as pillars and pots that are around. And when they get there, they see that the top of it is relatively barren. There's not really much up here, except for the view that they can get from the top of the mountain. But when they walk into the center of the structure, they're taken to another world. And this world is starkly different from the first world in that this one's filled with color. All of the architectural elements of this are blue, and there's also plants around that are red and green. In this level, I wanted to create an area where the player could progress through and have multiple different shots that they would find pleasing to the eye. This includes after they walk forward and up the first slant of this level, and then they get the first view of the castle in front of them. I tried to use architectural elements to frame this view. If the player looks back from this upper courtyard area and looks back at where they came from, they can see there's another structure behind them, the one that they came from. Once the player walks up to the back of the castle, they're taken over to another area within this level, which is actually above where the player starts. This area is filled with plants and trees. The player has to jump up through these trees and progress upwards through the level. Once they get through the trees and up to the top, they're able to see the ending area, which is another building that's framed by trees and is also sitting atop a cloud. This is actually the end of the experience, as once the player gets to the middle of it, the experience ends and they're taken back to the title screen. So going through the pipeline of the creation of Transcendence, it started by creating a gray boxing experience. And gray boxing is when you just use gray boxes to lay out basically the entire level. So I did this, and then afterwards I started modeling all of the assets in the game. Every physical thing in it was created in Autodesk Maya. And after this was done, I had to UV everything, make sure the textures could be laid out correctly on the pieces, and after that they were brought into Substance Painter. You just bring everything in, and then you can drag a texture onto the object, and you can export that into various maps for use in other programs. After this, we brought everything into Unreal. Unreal is where the whole game was basically created. It was where everything that I created was laid out into the levels. Creating the blueprints for the levels was kind of interesting, because it was something that I'd never really done before. And there was a couple things that I even struggled with creating just in general. One of them being the cloud systems that were seen in both the first level and the second level, just the fog that was over on the whole thing, as well as the cloud that's at the end of the second level. For the clouds, I had to use Niagara, a plugin for Unreal. It was interesting because I had to create the cloud itself, which was used by just taking a series of sprites and spawning those within a certain location multiple times, and then having those emit in a certain place. Another thing that I used the blueprints for was the options screen. I created this because when I gave this experience for people to playtest, some people said that they just couldn't even run the game because it was just too much. So I decided I should create some sort of graphical limiting system, and that was really difficult because it involved things such as using arrays and indexes, and I had to use some of Unreal's system commands in that to get different resolutions and things. Making it was just a whole complex process of plugging everything into each other, and it was interesting to learn how to do. Overall, I'm really happy with the experience and how it turned out. I think I accomplished what I wanted to do with it, which was create more of an atmospheric piece, really created a mood, and I think I accomplished that. So I hope everyone enjoys.